Another year has begun. A year that does not have to be the same as the previous one. A year loaded with new opportunities to renew strength, desires, and even redirect your plans. Even think about new and different nuances. You have in your hands the possibility of doing things better. You have a diary with 365 blank pages before you. Create and write a new story. Happy New Year. The truth we once understood is now easily discarded by political correctness. This is the post-truth era. The real truth does not link church and state. In this program, Pastor John Carter tells us the truth based on the Holy Scriptures. Biblical principles were the foundation of American society. Jesus said, "You will know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Now here is John Carter to explain the aims of the papacy.
Hello, friend. Welcome today to the Carter Report. We get many letters, and I try to answer as many letters as come in. Now, this is a very different letter. It's a very important letter, and therefore, by the grace of God, I plan to answer it. Before I do so, let me say this. God has got a very big family. God has got a very big family. He's got in his family lots of Roman Catholics, lots of Protestants, and we could go on and on. So let's get to the letter. This letter is called the Bob letter. I'm not going to tell you the last name of Bob, but he lives in California. And Bob has written to me. He says, "I hope all is well with you and Beverly. I'm not sure if you've noticed what is going on in Scotland and Europe right now." Well, actually, Bob, I do look at television on occasions, and I'm not actually living under a rock in Australia, but I know what you're talking about. As I write to you, there is a conference forming in Scotland with all the world leaders to discuss the climate. The Pope has stated that he will attend the conference and present his answer for the climate. His proposal is to establish a worldwide day of rest to lower the carbon emissions, and of course, this day would be Sunday. Although this may help the environment somewhat, its real purpose is to get the world leaders to conform with the Roman Catholic Church and the Pope. America currently has a leader that has no backbone and is Catholic. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are not my words. I'm simply reading the letter from Bob in California. So President Biden will certainly bow to the Pope and is also obligated to do so because he is Catholic. John, could this be the beginning of the mark of the beast? How clever would this be for the Pope to take this opportunity to advance his agenda? What are your thoughts about this? Best regards, Bob in California. Now, Bob, and ladies and gentlemen, as I answer this question, because this is a very good letter, and it needs to be answered, I propose to have Wayne ask me lots and lots of other questions. And as I answer those questions, I hope that I'll answer this question, the question of Bob's letter.
What is post-truth?
Well, post-truth is the very crazy idea that every person has his own personal truth. Is it crazy? Yes, it's crazy. but it's believed today possibly by the majority of people, even by the majority of people who call themselves Christians. Of course, it goes against the real truth. Jesus said, this is tremendously important, Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. You can't have your truth. I can't have my truth. We don't have our personal dominion over truth. I can have my opinion. You can have your opinion. But not all opinions are the same. There is a truth, and it should be our soul's endeavor to discover and to obey the truth.
Why is understanding Bible prophecy so important?
I'm reading a text out of 1 Peter. No, actually, it's 2 Peter, and it's chapter 1 and verse 19. And it talks about truth, and it talks about prophetic truth. And Peter, whom our beloved friends in the Roman Catholic Church declare to be the first pope, Peter said these words, and so we have the prophetic word confirmed, which you do well to heed as a light that shines in a dark place until the day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. Peter said, and as I mentioned before, our Catholic friends say that Peter was the first pope. Peter said that prophecy is like a light that shines in a dark place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, we are living today in a new dark age. We're living in the age of post-truth, where anything goes, where up is down and left is right. But Peter said, prophecy is like a light that shines in a dark place. At present, we're staying here in Australia because of COVID. We have a house here in Australia. It's in a place, a beautiful place just south of the Gold Coast. It's out in the bush, out in the forest. It has many, many wonderful blessings. But there's one thing it has that I don't consider to be a blessing at all. It has brown snakes. To be more correct, it has the eastern brown snake, which is the second most deadly snake on planet Earth. The worst snake in the world, the most deadly snake, is the fierce snake, the inland taipang. It's a terrible, terrible snake, the most deadly snake, the most poisonous. But on my property here in Australia, we have the eastern brown. There's one thing you don't do. You don't walk around here at night time, especially in summer, with no shoes on, without a flashlight. If you get bitten by one of these little monsters, and sometimes they grow 2 meters long, it could well be curtains. You need light in a dark place. Bible prophecy is like a light shining in the darkness of post-truth age.
Does the USA have an ambassador to the Vatican? And does this conflict with the separation of church and state?
Yes, the United States of America, which has been for many, many years the bastion of Protestantism, has an ambassador to the Vatican, to what is called the Holy See. In modern times, or more recent times, it started under the president, the great president, the Republican president, Ronald Reagan. Now, he was very, very friendly with Pope John Paul. He was a great Pope, John Paul II. And they entered into a secret alliance to bring down the totalitarian system of communism. And of course, Pope Paul came from Poland, and he was no friend of communism. Now, since then, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George Bush, W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and our present president, President Joe Biden, have all appointed ambassadors to the Roman Catholic Church, to the Holy See. Now you may say, I find this to be somewhat incredible. Why would they do this? Because the Vatican is a theocracy. It is a union of church and state. It is its own nation. And you ask me the question, is this a violation of the separation of church and state? Of course it is. Of course it is. But America, my friend, is losing the faith of the Protestant reformers. And America is going into a time of great spiritual darkness. Remember when Pope Francis visited the United States of America and he spoke to a joint Congress of the United States? Did you see the reception he got? The Protestants and the Catholics standing up and shouting themselves hoarse to honor the Pope from Rome. Was it a violation of church and state? Of course. Now listen carefully to this. Today, many of my Protestant friends believe in the concept of theocracy. You say, now you've lost me now. What's this theocracy business? A theocracy is the union of church and state, like they had in the Old Testament. In the early days of Christianity, there was a great theologian by the name of St. Augustine or Augustine. And he came up with the Christian idea of theocracy. And so that the church would control the state, do away with evil, and bring in the kingdom of God by force. That's what many Protestants today in the United States of America are trying to do. And when they do this, my friend, they will set up the reign of Antichrist.
How do you distinguish between Roman Catholicism and individual Catholics?
Let me make this ever so plain. I have no quarrel with Roman Catholics. I love Roman Catholics. Today, I'm not talking about Roman Catholics. Bless your heart. My father was a Roman Catholic. Most of my relatives were and still are Roman Catholics, except for the grace of God and the providence of God, I could have been a Roman Catholic priest. So I have no quarrel with Roman Catholics. What we're talking today is about the papal system and its teachings. I've known some marvelous Catholics. My father, as I mentioned, was an earnest Roman Catholic. And then I think of that great Pope, whom I personally liked a great deal. I just thought he was a nice person. Good Pope John. We've got to make it very, very plain. There are good and bad people in every religion, including my own church. Good and bad people in your church? Yes, of course. Yes. There are good and bad people in every church. And I believe that the vast majority of God's true children are found in the Roman Catholic and some other churches. Now, that was said by a member of my church. Her name was Ellen White, and we believe that she had a special gift from God. But let me read you a text now out of the book of Revelation chapter 18 and verse 2 and 4. I want to make this ever so plain. I don't want you to think we're talking about Catholics today. No. Revelation 18, verse 2 and 4. He cried mightily with a loud voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a prison for every foul spirit, and a cage for every unclean and hated bird. This is talking about a vast system of religious apostasy in the last days. And then we come to verse 4. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, 'Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive of her plagues.'" God says that he has his people in this great system of religious deception that is called Babylon.
Is the papacy described in the prophecies of the Bible?
So the question is, Wayne, and it's a great question. You've got courage to ask it, Wayne. Is the papacy described in the prophecies of the Bible? Well, let me tell all my American friends, especially my American friends, and also my other friends around the world, but let me tell my Protestant friends in America this great truth. This great truth that the papacy was described in the prophecies of the Bible was held by all the early Americans, all of the Puritans. That's why they left the old world, to get away from the persecutions of the Vatican, the Holy See, and the Church of Rome. This idea was believed by the Baptists, the Lutherans, the Anglicans, the Episcopalians. I could go on, and certainly the Adventists. They all believed that the papacy was graphically described in the prophecies of the Bible. Let me read to you from the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 8. I don't have time to give you an exegesis of this, but that would be appropriate. Daniel chapter 7 and verse 8. "I was considering the horns, and there was another horn, a little one, coming up among them, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And there in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking pompous words." This is the famous king, listen carefully, who rises on the ruins of the Roman Empire. Now, did you get this? In Daniel chapter 7, you have a picture of Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, then the great Roman Empire, then you have the kingdoms and the states of Europe, and then you have a religious king that arises among the kingdoms of Europe. Every Protestant commentator until recently said that this was the papacy, not Roman Catholic people, but the papacy as a system of oppression and deception. Now, you must understand this, that during the Dark Ages, the Roman Catholic Church persecuted people by the millions. And probably most of the people who were persecuted back in the Dark Ages were Roman Catholics. Martin Luther, who started the Protestant Reformation, was a Roman Catholic priest. So we're not talking about the people, but we are talking about a system of deception. Now, the great commentator Leopold says these words. Let me read them to you. "We also hold that in stating that the Pope is the Antichrist, the Lutheran confessions were correct. Much as some men have derided and belittled that view, such belittling grows out of forgetting how thoroughly the reformers understood the papacy." Then he says this, present-day shallowness of understanding in this respect leads to shallowness of interpretation. Now, today we're living in a time of ignorance and a time of propaganda. And the vast majority of people who go to church have no idea what their churches used to teach. All of the great Protestant reformers, many of the great Roman Catholic scholars taught that the power of Daniel chapter 7, verse 8, this king who arose on the ruins of the Roman Empire was the Vatican, the Pope of Rome.
Does the papacy have an influence in American politics?
Does the papacy have an influence in American politics? The papacy runs American politics. Many of the senators and the congressmen have been trained by the Jesuits. Go online and check it out, my friend. The Roman Catholic Church has a tremendous, tremendous influence in American politics. And listen to this. The Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, probably has a tremendous influence in your church as well.
Who are the Jesuits?
The Jesuits are a very interesting group of people. They started what was called the Counter-Reformation. You see, you had the Protestant Reformation that gave birth to the great democracies, Great Britain, the United States of America, all the great Protestant countries, which became the lights of the world. And then the Jesuits, a group of Spanish scholars, devised a plan to bring down the Protestant Reformation. They ran this big council that was called the Council of Trent. Have you ever heard of it? The Council of Trent was to overthrow the Protestant Reformation and to bring back the worldwide domination of the papacy. Did you know that the present Pope, who seems such a wonderful Christian man, the present Pope is a Jesuit priest?
Is Pope Francis a righteous man?
Now today, as I've tried to make very plain, we're not talking about individuals, we're not talking about people, we're not talking about the Pope per se. We are talking about a vast system of doctrine and a vast system of deception that wants to rule the world. As a person, the Pope seems a very nice person. He seems to like people. He seems to be a pastor. He seems to be far more approachable than many Protestant leaders that I know. He knows where he is going. The Pope is a very fine, I believe, very courteous, very clever, very shrewd Jesuit. And the Pope has an aim. The Pope has a purpose. What is the purpose of the Pope? Let me tell you. The purpose of the Pope is to bring all of the Protestant churches, all of the religious organizations, all of the political organizations back to the papacy. Because it is written in the scriptures that in these last days, the papacy is going to rule the world. Now, I'm going to talk about Bob's letter in the next part of the program. The most important revelations are still to come. But remember what Jesus said. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free.
The Carter Report is now streaming on demand for you. Now you can have the teachings of John Carter anytime, day or night. By streaming the Carter Report, there is more content for you to choose from, and it's easy. If you are new to streaming, all you need to do is purchase a streaming device. It doesn't really matter which one. You can buy a Roku, Amazon Fire, or Apple TV from any major retailer. You or a family member can plug the device into your TV and sign into your internet connection. Do a search for the Carter Report and download the app to your device. From then on, your device and the Carter Report app can provide you with hundreds of on-demand programs. You can also take the Carter Report with you wherever you go. The official free Carter Report mobile app can be downloaded to your phone or tablet. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the app. Additionally, you can find Carter Report programs on your favorite podcast. You can also watch us on Vimeo or YouTube. Type the Carter Report in the search box. You can watch hundreds of uninterrupted John Carter teachings whenever you want, for as many hours as you want. Travel with John Carter as he circles the globe to bring the gospel to millions of people. Watch the Carter Classics from over 50 years of ministry and gain knowledge from stimulating interviews with Christian leaders. You now have multiple ways to watch the Carter Report, and once you start streaming, you'll find comfort in having these teachings readily available to you, whenever and wherever you want, for free. Welcome to the inspirational world of John Carter. The PC Police patrol the government, the schools, our workplace, our very lives. Christian prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance to our country are vanishing from the landscape. Merry Christmas is replaced with Happy Holidays. The state is gaining ground. Free speech is now silenced and censored. Pastor John Carter is making available his 4-part series, Aims of the Papacy, on DVD. This series reminds all of us that the government cannot tell us how to worship, and a church cannot tell us how to pray. Only Jesus is the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. For a gift of any amount, receive your copy of Aims of the Papacy. Call or write to the address on the screen.
For a copy of today's program, please contact us at P.O. Box 1900, Thousand Oaks, California, 91358. Or in Australia, contact us at P.O. Box 861, Terrigal, New South Wales, 2260. This program is made possible through the generous support of viewers like you. We thank you for your continued support. May God richly bless you.